A man in his early 60s sits inside a quiet cafe, staring at his retirement app while a $680,000 balance glows on the screen. The number looks strong, but the $4,200 monthly spending estimate beside it makes him pause before touching his coffee. That is the contradiction many people miss. A portfolio can look large and still feel fragile. The trap begins when retirement money is treated as one big pile. One pile expected to grow. One pile expected to pay the bills. One pile expected to stay calm when markets fall. But money behaves differently depending on the job assigned to it. The underestimated retirement portfolio is not built around excitement. It is built around function. One part grows. One part pays. One part protects. And the real question is what happens when those jobs are not separated early enough. The system starts with a simple distinction. Retirement money does not have one job. It has three competing jobs that become more visible as work income begins to fade. The first job is growth. This is the part designed to carry time. It owns productive assets, usually through broad diversified funds or similar long-term holdings. Its purpose is not to look calm every week. Its purpose is to remain connected to the part of the economy that can expand over decades. That is why this section can feel uncomfortable. Growth money moves. It rises with optimism. It falls when fear enters the market. It can make a person feel wealthy in January and uncertain by March. From a system view, that movement is not the failure. The failure happens when the same dollars are expected to grow aggressively and also feel available for near-term spending. That is like asking the engine of a car to also be the brake. The second job is income. This is where the portfolio begins to act less like a scoreboard and more like a paycheck system. During working years, the paycheck does more than cover bills. It creates rhythm, rent or mortgage, groceries, insurance, utilities, small repairs. The month has a flow because income arrives on a schedule. Retirement removes that familiar rhythm. The account may still be large, but the emotional pattern changes. Money no longer comes from work in the same way. The portfolio has to create a new sense of monthly support. The income part exists for that reason. It may come from dividends, interest, planned withdrawals, or a mix of sources. The product is less important than the function. This part of the system turns stored wealth into usable cash flow. It gives spending a structure instead of leaving every expense to feel like a piece removed from the same pile. The third job is protection. This is the part that often looks inefficient during good markets. It may sit in safer assets. It may not grow quickly. It may seem too quiet when stocks are rising and headlines are confident. But its value is not measured by excitement. Its value appears when pressure arrives. Picture the portfolio as a water system. The growth section is the reservoir being refilled by time and compounding. The income section is the pipe that sends water into daily life. The protection section is the backup tank. Most people ignore the backup tank when the main reservoir is full. But when the flow is interrupted, the backup tank becomes the difference between calm and forced reaction. This is the hidden reason the three-part structure matters. It separates market movement from personal panic. A falling market is already uncomfortable. It becomes more dangerous when living expenses have to be pulled from assets that are temporarily down. The protection part does not remove the decline. It creates distance between the decline and the spending decision. That distance changes behavior. It gives the growth side more time to recover. It gives the income side more order. It gives the person more room to think. Without that separation, the entire portfolio becomes emotionally noisy. Every market drop feels like a cut in future lifestyle. Every bill feels connected to the current account balance. Every headline feels closer than it really is. This is why a large portfolio can still feel fragile. The number may be respectable, but the internal flow is unclear. The money has no assigned lanes. $1 is trying to be future growth, current income, and emergency stability at the same time. The system becomes like a kitchen with every appliance plugged into one overloaded outlet. It may work on a normal day. Under stress, the weakness appears. The underestimated portfolio works differently because each part absorbs a different kind of pressure. Growth absorbs time pressure. Income absorbs spending pressure. Protection absorbs panic pressure. None of the parts is superior by itself. The structure matters because the parts interact. Too much growth can create anxiety near retirement. Too much income focus can weaken long-term expansion. Too much protection can reduce the ability to keep pace with rising costs. The balance changes because life stage changes. In the earlier years, growth usually carries more weight because time is still abundant. In the years closer to retirement, income becomes more visible because the paycheck gap is approaching. In the retirement years, protection becomes more emotionally important because a market decline can overlap with real spending needs. This shift is gradual. It's not a dramatic switch. It is closer to dimming one light while brightening another. The same portfolio slowly changes its behavior as the person's financial life changes. That is the mechanism most people underestimate. Retirement security is not only about having enough money. It is also about whether the money is organized by function. The system works when growth is allowed to grow, income is allowed to support spending, and protection is allowed to create patience. The result is not a perfect portfolio. It is a portfolio that is less confused about its own purpose. Consider two people with the same retirement balance. Both are 61. Both have $750,000 saved across retirement accounts and taxable investments. Both expect work income to end within the next few years. On the surface, their financial picture looks almost identical, but the internal structure of their portfolios creates two very different retirement experiences. Person A treats the account as one large pool. The pool has grown over many years, mostly through assets designed for long-term appreciation. During the accumulation years, this felt natural. The account rose during strong markets. The balance became the main signal of progress. When the number was higher than last year, confidence improved. When the number fell, confidence weakened. This single pool structure seems simple, while paychecks are still coming in. Monthly life is funded by work. The portfolio can sit in the background. It does not need to explain which dollars are for next year, which dollars are for 10 years from now, and which dollars are for emotional stability during a downturn. Then retirement moves closer. The same account now has to answer more questions. Can it support spending? Can it recover from declines? Can it stay invested long enough to keep pace with rising costs? Nothing about the balance itself explains those roles. The money is present, but the job assignments are unclear. A market drop changes the emotional meaning of the account. A decline that once looked temporary now feels connected to groceries, insurance, property taxes, and the timing of retirement. The math may not have changed dramatically, but the pressure around the math has changed. Person A may begin watching the balance more often. A normal market decline starts to feel like a personal warning. Spending becomes harder to interpret because every withdrawal appears to come from the same fragile pool. Person B also has $750,000. The difference is not the number. The difference is the arrangement. Part of the portfolio is still assigned to long-term growth. That section is allowed to move because its time horizon is longer. Another part is organized around cash flow. It creates a clearer bridge between stored wealth and monthly life. A third part is set aside for stability. It does not need to win during good markets. It exists so the other parts are not forced to do the wrong job during bad markets. In calm conditions, person A and person B may look nearly the same. Their net worth may be similar. Their statements may show similar balances. Their retirement date may even be similar. The difference becomes visible only when stress enters the system. Suppose markets fall sharply during the year before retirement. Person A sees one large account falling. Because the account is not divided by function, the decline feels total. Growth, spending, and safety all appear to be falling together. The portfolio becomes one emotional object. Person B sees the same market decline, but not through the same structure. The growth section may be lower. That part is uncomfortable, but it is not the entire system. The income section still explains part of the spending flow. The protection section still creates a buffer between market prices and immediate living costs. This does not make person B immune to loss. It changes the interpretation of the loss. That difference matters because retirement decisions are rarely made in pure theory. They are made by human beings watching real numbers move, while real expenses continue. A portfolio that looks mathematically efficient can become fragile when it creates constant pressure to react. A portfolio that looks less exciting can become stronger when it reduces the number of forced emotional decisions. Before retirement, one large pool can feel efficient because the paycheck absorbs most of the pressure. After retirement, the portfolio absorbs more of that pressure itself. That is the before and after shift most people underestimate. The account does not only hold investments, it begins to hold the emotional role once carried by work income. This is why two people with the same balance can feel completely different. Person A owns a number that has to explain everything. Person B owns a structure where each section explains one part of the system. The conclusion is not that person B has found a perfect portfolio. The conclusion is colder than that. The same amount of money can create different behavior depending on how it is organized. And in retirement, behavior under pressure can matter as much as the starting balance. Most people think the retirement portfolio problem is size. The account needs to be bigger. The return needs to be higher. The market needs to cooperate for a few more years. That explanation feels logical because size is easy to see. A balance is simple. A monthly statement is simple. A headline about market performance is simple. But size is not the only reason a portfolio feels secure or insecure. The blind spot is that retirement money changes identity. During working years, it is mostly a future number. It represents progress, discipline, and distance from financial worry. In retirement, it becomes a working system. It has to support life while still surviving uncertainty. That is a different job. You think the problem is that the portfolio is not impressive enough, but the real issue may be that the portfolio is being asked to behave in 3 different ways without clear separation. Growth dollars are expected to be patient. Spending dollars are expected to be available. Protection dollars are expected to reduce pressure. When all of them sit inside the same mental pile, the portfolio becomes harder to understand. A normal decline can feel like a lifestyle threat. A normal bill can feel like a permanent reduction in security. A normal market headline can feel like personal news. This is why the underestimated portfolio changes the frame. It does not begin with the question, is the number big enough? It begins with a quieter question. What role is each part of the money playing? That question changes the emotional shape of retirement. A growth section can be judged by time. An income section can be judged by flow. A protection section can be judged by patience. Each part has a different standard. That is the mental shift. The strongest retirement portfolio may not be the one that looks most sophisticated. It may be the one with the least confusion. Confusion is expensive because it creates reaction. Reaction creates timing pressure. Timing pressure turns ordinary volatility into personal stress. Once money is organized by function, the viewer can see retirement less like a pile of assets and more like a set of working parts. This does not make the system perfect. It makes the trade-offs visible. More growth may mean more movement. More income may mean less emphasis on appreciation. More protection may mean less excitement in strong markets. But visible trade-offs are different from vague fear. Vague fear asks one question over and over. Is this enough? Structure asks a better question. What is this money being asked to do? The retirement portfolio most people underestimate is not built around prediction, excitement, or constant adjustment. It is built around separating money by function before stress makes the separation harder to see. One part carries growth. One part organizes cash flow. One part creates distance between market movement and emotional reaction. That structure does not remove uncertainty. It simply gives uncertainty fewer ways to control every decision at once. This is why a portfolio can look large and still feel unclear. The account balance may show progress, but progress and readiness are not the same thing. A number can be impressive while the system behind it remains confused. No advice. Just observation. This mechanism leads to a bigger issue we'll explore in the next video. Why many retirees still feel restricted even after they have saved more than they once thought they needed. Because sometimes the hidden problem is not only the amount of money. It is the relationship between money, spending, and the feeling of permission.